So we've talked at length about practice, and in most cases we're talking about sitting practice, meditative practice, mindfulness. If we're talking about a specific, maybe ritualistic form of practice, I wanted to hear your thoughts on the form of practice that musicians do, where
They do?
they're in front of their instrument.
Oh, you mean ordinary musical practice?
Yeah.
That's what you mean. Okay.
So, you've sat down to your instrument, or you've picked up your instrument.
Mm-hmm. That's the problem. Yeah. So the question then is, for musicians, can they be able to practice no music in the context of what the musical practice is? In the context of practicing no self, no instrument, no other, where they're engaged in their apparent or obvious physical music practice. So first there is nothing. And then there is this thing called music, practice music. Now, at whatever levels it shows up, it's all the same. Distraction. Yeah. What is distraction? Maybe appropriate, maybe necessary if you're a professional. But you have to decide already whether or not you just want to be a machine, a music machine, which is great, or be beyond the machinery of music and work from the creation of music, not as a self, but as no self. And that's a big deal. How do you play music without building the self more? And creating problems related to selfishness, separation, self-division, egotism. Big question. Can you actually play as no self? From the no self level, perhaps? And that's what meditation practice is questioning. And levels of meditation practice make very clear to the individual that they are either playing or not playing what they play. And how do you not play what you're playing? Is that possible? So when we are practicing stillness properly, and at that level of beingness or awareness, that is stillness, free of waveforms, mind forms, self forms, images, emotions, memories, and all the stuff of mental consciousness. See? From this place, you know very clearly and precisely what is self-music as distinct from selfless music. Same result, different process. And it's not about building karma or self, but actually releasing it. So then you're playing as purificational practice, believe it or not, because the self is not important in doing the music. Or, as some would say, doing the no music. There's no egoic stuff involved in that. Is that possible? Sounds pretty far out. For beginners, it's very far out. For others, and clearly you have those virtuosos who are not involved in the process. If they start at an early enough age, then they can actually play without playing. It's almost like giving it an automatic pilot status. So understood, plays by itself. Machine. The self-machine. No self-machine. There's nobody there, it's just machinery. We're capable of that. That's an important fact to keep in mind if you're going to be doing musical practice from the viewpoint of, let's say, the requirement of self-transcending spiritual practice. How do you do that? How do you play and not be there? And not be doing what you're doing, or apparently doing. So there is a zone you need to get to in this process. Like a nodal point. To get to this point where you're conscious of you not playing what you're playing.
So this is a question you've answered before, but I think it's very relevant to what we were just discussing, which is it possible to observe one's function as a player or even as somebody breathing without affecting it, without imposing one's consciousness?
Affecting the breathing or the process of playing?
Well, how about breathing, since it's a bit simpler perhaps?
Oh, there's no self involved in breathing. Okay, so that question is answered. Breathing is selfless.
Even when the self feels like, they're like, oh, let's take a deep breath now.
The self is irrelevant to breathing. You're either dead or you're alive. You know? Right. The body will have its way when it comes to that.
So is it possible to affect the breath in the same terms?
We can hold our breath. We can pant if we need to. We can do whatever we want. Sure, the consciousness is there, but is it necessary? When you're asleep, you're not necessarily breathing, but the body's breathing. So, as I said, the answer is yes and no. But what I'm talking about is there's no breathing. And whether or not you can tolerate that. This time around, it's a better answer. No music, no breathing, no musician. All in order to produce better music. Has nothing to do with you. Get out of the way already. This practice is not a mental process. Although for a couple of seconds you can think about it and understand the theory of deepness. Or like unconsciousness, the theory of it. Mm-hmm. No consciousness. Very useful language. Not really intended to negate anything, but definitely intended to awaken you to something. See? That is you, but has nothing to do with you at the same time. The very speech of it leaves you at a nodal point where you're not sure what it's being said. That's the practice. Then speech is used as meditative, let's say, processing of levels or the reality of consciousness itself. From which everything arises, and everything disappears into. It's not a mental process. As soon as you subject it to what's going on up here, you can't get it. All you're getting is your reflection of your own mind thinking about itself, whatever the object may be or not be. It's not up there. You have to come from up there to here. If you can, or maybe from here to here, even better. So we're talking about this circle or cycle of attention. Not the mental. Ear to thought. Hearing your own thought limitations and your reactions as responses to any of these questions. And the practice, which is free of question, free of answer. And just heart to sound. Heart sound. Heart sound. You've heard the term before. Heart sound. Add more power to that, and you have heart fire sound. Working by itself, unconsciously, or better, superconsciously. Who can do that? Who's interested in it? You just want to play some jazz, man. That's what you want to play. Carry on.
The question is it more about the player or no player that's playing, a certain type of music or playing some kind of either pre-written music that can bring their practice to play that music, or is it, I guess, what's that process?
Well, it's a good question. It is always about the who. Is experiencing what. So spiritual practice as such then affects the who. And that's what can come of that relative to music. How you are affected by what kind of spiritual practice? If you're deeper, it's possible what comes through you will have a presence or resonance with or correspondence to what others will feel is deeper for themselves. If you reach a universal level of vibration, and then those people will have a resonance with that, will say yes to that. And it's in the flow. We use a word, it's like an ancient word, the flow. The Tao, you hear it, you feel it, you know it's there. It's a certain kind of electromagnetic sense. When people say it's happening, well, something is going on. As other than the mind stream, so something's psychically present. And that is always present, but what or who's who can relate to it as such. Because the music that is implied in your conversation questioning and so on. You use the term pre-written. That means it already is. It already exists. It already is present. Yeah, it's real already. Mm-hmm. But how that shows up is determined by the situation. We're talking about creative music, then what comes up is going to be seen as true no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. Known before or not, boom, it's true of the moment. That's why it's important to engage in spiritual practice. That makes your neurosis less the communication than, let's say, the heart as neurosis-free, open, creative being, whether that's pertaining to music or any of the arts, or sciences for that matter. Yeah? Mm. So we then are connected to the infinite stream of the Shabd, the holy, sacred sound stream, right? It's like a huge wind, right? In the universe, it's the breathings, the inhalations and exhalations of the divine reality itself, which we are all part of, the itself. Now, if we had a way to have all beings, on the web, let's say, breathing at the same time, we might be living in a better place. Say, okay, now somebody's ready, inhale, world, ready? Orchestrated yoga could be a better place. Who knows? Right? So then is it breathing or is it other selves breathing? So, who's playing? It or somebody's self? So, desire, ambition, projection, neuroses or whatever, or healing.
What's the role of the drum in this universe, in this lifetime?
Yeah, if it has a role, yeah. If it even exists. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What does it represent or symbolize? The heart itself. Mm-hmm. Vibration, motion. Vibration, by frequency, duration, life pulse, heart pulse, life and breath itself. Mm-hmm. Living, see? Interconnectedness. Mm-hmm. Aliveness. Hear a pulse, watch a brainwave. Mm-hmm. To live or not to live, to be alive or not to be alive. I'm not saying one is better than the other. Mm-hmm. But one of perhaps many ways to confirm life. And what that means at a cosmic level. Mm-hmm. The inanimate universe, say the mineral kingdom, it's also part of that. Maybe not visibly as much, but actually it's part of it. Who can perceive that vibration? Who can determine the time of the rock? or the crystal, as a form of music, as a form of sound, as a form of life, as a form of color, intelligence or knowing. Comment.
So would you say that all things are related through vibration?
And no vibration. All things are related. As much as vibration as no vibration. So there could be said to be a dynamic dimension of vibration and a static dimension of vibration, the no vibration. Some might say that's more related to or relevant to the stage of death, which is vibration. It's a heavy vibe, as we all know. It's the death vibe. Have no doubt about it. And it's profoundly sacred. And it's as much a part of us as a living, sort of active, obviously vibracious or vibrant, right? Radiant even, appearances of life. Right? The obviously lively manifestations of livingness. You have the sunlight, and then you have the sunrise, and you have the sunset. You have what is called night. So this is not a commentary on what's real, what's not real, but we are all of it. So we need to find peace to balance out the neuroses. In other words, we need to find how best to practice cessation, right? The no vibration, the no wave. The wave of the no wave as much as the wave of the waves. Because we are all of that. But maybe people are less inclined to appreciate the consciousness of the no wave. The awakeness of the no wave. No self, no one, no thing. Side of our pure spirit nature. Pure, peaceful nature. No nature. Our naturelessness.
When different communities say things like, you are already it, or everything is already perfect.
Wishful thinking. Hyperlogic. It's like good news, that's the gospel. The Lord is already here. Haven't you seen her? Don't you know her already? What's wrong with you? It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything. Just has to be much deeper than that. So at this level, there's no good news. There's no news at all. There's no news. In other words, the word gone has to be brought into the perspective of what it is. It's gone. Whatever is said is gone. Whatever is known, whatever is experienced is already gone. It's not negative. It's absolutely positive. It's already gone. It's the beauty of goneness that sustains the yogi. The majesty of goneness liberates the yogi.
Yeah. And those ideas, those thoughts, those words, already gone, already done, already realized, they don't play the music. But there is this music that is played.
But that is the music. that is the music.
Mm-hmm.
That is the music.
Mm-hmm.
Gone. That is. That is. It is. It is.
So coming back to music, and that certain people play music. Also, certain people have a spiritual practice.
Yes, but it's all music, though. It's all music. Now we go back to the ancient masters. Say their realization as sound. Their realization is sound. And they go even deeper and say shabd. I mean spiritual sound. It's like saying the source of sound. We could say it could mean silence, sound. Can anyone hear the silence sound? Can you not hear it? So for those who are moved, right? Moved is a very important word. Like in the wave of the music, to express it, they don't have much choice. We can say the original impulse is selfless, like a child's voice. You hear the baby at birth and you if you can hear that much. It's not it doing anything. And the voice is doing it. The sound is coming through. The sound will come through under certain conditions. You will scream, you will laugh, you will speak. You're moved to do it. It's not like you're doing it. No, it's being done to you. And that's more origin, let's say, sharp and centered and conscious than things happen, right? And because of you. So then from that viewpoint, you can say there's no such thing as, well, you did something. It's being done to you. High or low, good and bad. Who's doing it? Could you not do it? You can think so. Could you make it different? Maybe. But who's doing all of this? Who? What is doing all of this for itself? What is being realized while all of this is happening? Who is being realized? Who is not being realized as what it is while all of this is happening or already happened?